It's 7 o'clock, and we do have a quorum for the Conservation Commission meeting for the town of Upton on Wednesday, July 9th at 7 p.m. Our first hearing is a notice of intent for New England Power Company, which is replacement of a pole structures and optical wire, which is continued from June 25th. And do we have a representative from New England Power?
Hi, good evening. Simon Hilt with Epsilon Associates representing New England Power. I've also got Dave Clinch on the line here.
Good evening.
Hi there.
So we presented the project to you a couple of weeks ago, and I think since that time, at least Mary has had an opportunity to go out and do a site visit, I believe. So let me know if you'd like me to kind of review any part of the project or kind of give the overview summary again, or if you have any questions, whatever the commission would prefer.
Maybe the summary, please.
Okay.
And then we'll ask questions after Mary.
Sure. So again, this is New England Power's line 323 transmission line, asset condition refurbishment project. So essentially it's a replacement project of an existing overhead transmission line. So those are the high tension lines that you see running through town. This line, the project overall is about 14 miles long. It starts in Millbury and terminates right at the Medway Milford line. In Upton, it runs basically right across the middle of town through a utility corridor that has 3 other transmission lines in it. Within the town of Upton, there are going to be 50 structures that are replaced. So essentially, most, if not all of those, are wooden H-frame structures. That means they have 2 wooden poles going into the ground with a cross arm that supports the wires. So again, 50 of those in town that are going to be replaced. Of those, 21 structures are located within areas that are subject to protection under either the Wetlands Protection Act or the bylaw. 19 of those 21 are actually exempt as maintenance because they don't represent a significant change to the structure. They're essentially going to be changed like for like. 2 structures located within BVW will have slight increases to the footprint as they will be going from direct embed structures to structures that are on foundations. I can give some more details on that in a little bit. The project does qualify for consideration as a limited project per the WPA regulations, though we believe we've met the performance standards for BVW in this case. All work is within New England Power's right-of-way, so it's either occurring on parcels that are fee-owned by New England Power or within easements that they hold. We do have a handful of structures that are located within priority habitat as mapped by Natural Heritage, and we received a determination earlier this year from Natural Heritage stating that the project is not anticipated to result in a take of rare species, with a few conditions on that, such as essentially the time of year that we place the mats and sweeps for the species out there before construction actually commences at those locations. And I'll also just say that abutter notifications were completed per the local bylaw and WPA. So those went out prior to the last hearing, I think around the 10th of June, actually. So I'll pause there to see if there are any general questions. And if you'd like me to review the specific locations where we have the work in BVW, I can get ahead to those.
Thank you. Mary, what is your input?
Yeah, well, we had just been waiting on a DEP number, and then I also did a site visit. I guess after the site visit, I just had one question. I noticed that some of those wetlands had shrubs that were pretty tall, maybe 10 to 12 feet, and I was just trying to imagine how these mats are going to be laid on top of that. So if you had any input on that.
Yeah, so where possible, where the shrubs are at a shorter length, maybe up to 5 or 6 feet, sometimes they will just lay the mats on top of them, and the shrubs have they're pretty resilient and can spring back up once the mats are removed. in areas where the shrubs reach the heights that you're describing there, typically if they were to place mats directly on them, it would snap the stem. So rather than go ahead and do that and have a messy break essentially of the trunk of these saplings or shrubs, they'll likely go in there and just do some pruning of those or use a chainsaw to cut them. Not doing any removal of stumps or grubbing or anything like that. So they would be allowed to resprout following the project.
And did you have any comment on the DEP comments?
Yeah, I can respond to those. So the DEP comments came in yesterday or the day before, I think. So can kind of walk through those. So the first one was essentially stating that on the state NOI form, the WPA form 3, we just included the permanent impacts associated with the structure replacements. Again, that's just for the 2 structures within BVW. And they suggested that we should include the temporary impacts for the placement of the construction mats for the work that's occurring out there. In my experience working on these projects, that's kind of contradictory to what we've received from other branches of DEP. And actually for this project, we were not instructed to do that in other towns. So it may be a reviewer specific thing, but in any case, the construction mats that are placed out there to set up or to provide the temporary access and work pads is really viewed by the regulators as a best management practice. So what they're doing is essentially allowing us to get the machinery out there, the equipment that is needed. As you can imagine, some fairly sizable equipment out there to change out the poles and swap the wires over and whatnot. It allows us to do that without needing to grade in most places. So we're using them in many places in uplands and also everywhere where we're working in wetlands. So not only does it avoid the need for grading, but it also disperses the weight of the machinery that's out there. So and once the mats are removed, generally the vegetation pops right back up and the topography has not been altered. So it's not something that we typically do to include the footprint of the mats on the forms. If the commission would prefer that we do that, we can get that on the form and get that over to you. I don't know if you want to comment on these hash these out one by one, or just have me run through each of them.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I didn't really think it was necessary, but just was curious about and if the board has any opinions on that, but I think it's okay.
Okay. The next one is, so as described in the last presentation, we have 2 structures that are within BVW where, again, those direct embedded wooden poles are going to be replaced with structures on foundations. I think both of the structures right now, the existing structure pole diameter is about 18 inches. So between the entire footprint with the caisson that's in the ground right now, which is a 3-foot diameter, it's basically 14 square feet per pole. The new structures that are going to go in are going to be on 7-foot diameter foundations, so that's about a 77 square foot setup for the new one. So it's a delta of about 56 square feet for each of the 2 locations. So what we're proposing is basically to mitigate that by providing 100 square feet for each one of those structures. So it's almost a 2-to-1 replication ratio. The question that they had is, while we're doing the work at 2 locations, we've proposed to do the replication area at one of the wetland systems rather than a small one at each. I mean, they're both relatively small, honestly, not much bigger than your table there, 100 square feet each, but we've decided to, or we've proposed to group them together at the one location off of Gore Road. For the kind of 2 reasons. One, the wetland replication areas generally have a better chance of success if they are slightly larger than the very small size of 100 square foot is quite small for these. So grouping them both together, so we've got a 200 square foot area, will be have better chance of success. It's easier to track for both the commission and for us who are going to be monitoring it for a couple of years. The other piece of it is, the location where we're proposing the replication area off of Gore Road, it just really lends itself to wetland replication much more. It's got flatter topography. There's a really clear, nice wetland edge where there's I can flip to the page if you'd like to see the map. But essentially it's a better spot to do the work. Whereas at the other location, looks like Dave is sharing the screen here, so maybe he's flipping to the map. At the other location, okay, so Dave is turned to the map here. Thank you, assistant. If you can see, Dave, if you're able to zoom in with your cursor there, or if not, that purple triangle right about the center of the screen there is essentially the location where we're proposing to do this 200 square foot replication area. So that is at a location where the wetland boundary kind of jogs in and makes that angle. So essentially, we would be doing some light grading there to basically get it to a depth where it would support hydrophytic vegetation. So that's wetland plants essentially. Basically taking off the topsoil, digging down the subgrade a little bit, and then either replacing the topsoil if it's appropriate, or potentially supplementing it with some topsoil that would be kind of a blend of organic compost and loam, and then planting that. So there in our NOI, we proposed a planting plan. We also proposed a monitoring schedule, a reporting plan, things like that. So those are some of the other comments in DEP's letter here. But essentially, grouping these together makes more sense practically. There's better chance for success. And this location is just much more suitable to doing the replication, whereas the other one has got some really challenging topography and it would require a lot more grading to make it happen. So that's really the answer of why they are both at this one location. DEP was asking, why didn't you do one at each? So there's my long-winded answer for that. Let me know if you have questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
questions?
Okay. So that is the next one. So they said the commission may consider requesting a plan for the replication areas to include existing and proposed grades. So what we've done here is, as far as a an image type or graphical representation, this is that right here. The plan that you're looking at shows the location relative to the wetland edge and whatnot. In the narrative of the NOI is where we described the proposed plantings, the existing elevations there roughly, and essentially what would need to be done to get it down to the appropriate grade. And essentially, it basically spells out how we will do everything in the narrative of the NOI. We feel that DEP is correct here. You could request that we provide a topographic survey plan and more detail to that extent. We feel that really allowing the work to be done under the supervision of a wetland scientist and have a little bit of discretion there to make the grades essentially match the elevations of the surrounding wetland should be sufficient, and we think that'll work. So that's our response to that one. Hearing no questions to that, essentially the next two seem to indicate that maybe the DEP reviewer didn't get too deep into the narrative or missed some things there, because they suggest that the commission could require us to include conditions that 2 years of monitoring are required. That is laid out in our narrative, so we are proposing that already. And that the replication area achieves 75% survival, which is already spelled out in our narrative, and it's also one of the performance standards for BVW replication right in the WPA. So that's already proposed. Another one, they said you could consider including conditions to require a monitoring period and steps to ensure. That again is also already proposed in our NOI. We're proposing 2 years of monitoring and reporting and corrective actions as needed. And the last one there is DEP recommends that the commission refrain from issuing an order of conditions until Natural Heritage, I'm paraphrasing, but until Natural Heritage has provided a determination letter that the project won't result in a take. They have done that, and we included it in our submittal, so that must have just been missed by the reviewer. But that one should be all buttoned up. So that is it for DEP comments there.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Mary, any other questions or comments?
No, I think they're good to go.
Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Hearing none, would you like to close?
Was that to me or the commission?
Yes, you.
I would very much like to close if that means issuing an order of conditions.
Okay, so this is to the board. Let's do a voice vote. Chris, I.
Tom, I. Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Shannon,
Marcella, I.
Okay, it's a unanimous vote of the members present. So we will issue an order of conditions and Mary will let you know when that's ready.
All right.
So thank you. A nice job.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now 7:10, we have the request for determination of applicability for 41 Lumber Street and right of way between 12 and 45 Lumber Street and have Upton installation of a new water main, sanitary water sewer, and construction of a driveway and pumping station continued from June 25th. So, do we have a representative for this?
hi. Yes,
Hi there.
Emily Church and Rick Canavan here from Ty and Bond.
So, what would you like to add to your presentation?
I think Mary, I don't know if you want to step in on this one too. I believe from our last meeting, there was some discussion about adding the language in to the RDA. So I believe that is what we are here today, is just to see what the conclusion was on that and to see if the commission issues a negative determination.
Yeah, so I sent around this afternoon, proposed language that was agreed upon by both attorneys. And it seemed reasonable to me and to Ty and Bond, and so I think we're good to move forward and issue a negative determination of applicability. We also discussed with a lawyer what we should be choosing, so the recommendation is to choose a positive determination 2B, which basically states the wetland boundary is not confirmed. And then a negative determination 5, which says that it falls under exemption for the state. And then also 6, which says it falls under our town bylaw. But it doesn't need further permitting. And then the conditions would follow from that. So I sent the draft around this afternoon. I don't know if anybody got a chance to look at it, but I did. Look at it. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. So I think at this point, unless there's further discussion, we just go ahead and vote on that and issue it.
Okay.
And the one thing Mary did, she contacted the DEP and asked them their opinion of wetlands created accidentally in a situation where topsoil may have been removed many years ago and a wetland formed over time. And the DEP stated that in that case, it would still be a regulated wetland, and an accidental wetland still provides the essential wetland functions and values and is protected under the Wetlands Protection Act. And if it would fail the catch basin, contribute to the formation of the wetland, is still considered protected. So I thought that would be important to mention. Okay, so does anyone have questions about what Mary talked about with the determinations?
Same answer we get every time we ask that question. Sure.
Emily and Rick, did those sound reasonable? Okay, any questions from the members of the commission? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to close the hearing and issue things as described by Mary.
So moved.
Okay, how about a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote. Chris, I.
Tom, I. Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
And Mr.
Jan and I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, that's a unanimous motion of the members present. And Mary will draft those determinations and let you know when they're ready. So thank you. I appreciate all of your input into this situation.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thinking about it later.
Okay. Nice job, everyone. And next we had a certificate of compliance for 5 North Street, 311-0798. Construction of a single family home.
Yeah, and actually, Chris, we have, this is an unexpected agenda item and the person's online, so I mean, we may want to address it now. I had sent an email about the Boy Scout, potential Boy Scout project at Peppercorn. And we have someone here to talk about that.
Okay,
Going to welcome him to panelists, and he sent some emails about which bridge it is. I can share my screen.
Hi, everyone.
hi there.
I can't see. No. All right, so if you can see, this is Peppercorn, and Matt, I believe this is the location of the bridge down here, and I don't know why it's doing this. Just do this.
It is, yeah. There was a. There might have been a second photo with a where it was zoomed in and kind of colored in yellow, but.
You also sent some nice pictures of the current conditions.
Yeah, so just to fill everyone in, and someone that lives right adjacent to that to Peppercorn hikes that a lot. Brought it up as it might be a good Eagle Scout project. Just the fact that there's a beaver dam that's blocking that at the bottom of that swamp, and basically these pictures you see here, there's no water there now, but it's extremely muddy. And I think there was like at least 6 inches of water for probably, we were looking at probably maybe extending the current bridge, the wooden bridge, like 50 feet on either side, so you can see. Yeah, someone took boulders from Stonewall and put them in the walkway here. So this is walking the trail west towards the bridge. If it's too small to see, but the wooden bridge that exists that goes over that stream is right there in that picture. And then there's another picture from standing on the bridge. You can see those boulders. That picture right there. So just wanted to reach out. Unfortunately, my son Kyle, he's working right now. He couldn't join, or he'd be having this conversation with you. But just wanted to reach out to Concom and the town, just understand, what sort of are there any permits, or are there any town approvals or committee approvals that Kyle would need to built into his Eagle Scout proposal, which would obviously need to get approved by his Boy Scout council before moving forward. But that was what we were just hoping to find out. You know, what would be the next steps if this was something that he could in fact do.
So again, this is the location. It's near the bog, I guess. Bog area. There's Rocky Meadows up there. Trail runs down here.
What condition is the bridge that's there already in? Is it need replacement or does it just need to be extended?
It just needs to be extended. It's in good shape. Unfortunately, we didn't actually take a picture of it. We were standing on it when Kyle was taking pictures in both directions. So it's in good shape. It's just like I said, the beaver dam is putting water around each side. So it's obviously seasonal as well, but so the idea would be to just, you know, make a connection to the existing bridge just to keep hikers from being in six inches of water or more.
So as for permitting, would have to probably do a simple wetland application, which is a request for determination of applicability, since you're close to the wetland there. Anything within 100 feet would probably require that. Although. Good experience. Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe it would qualify as repaired, I don't know. Repairs, maintenance, maybe it qualifies as maintenance.
Well, maintenance.
I would look into that, but in the past, the Land Stewardship Committee has filed RDAs for those type of works.
And then it would be great if you could attend the meeting, whether it's in person or remote.
Yeah. I guess it would need approval from Land Stewardship Committee, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which isn't, they aren't probably meeting till beginning of August, which is why I suggested you come tonight. Just, there's a few of the Land Stewardship Board members on this committee.
Actually, probably a quorum, so.
Yeah, maybe a quorum's worth. Mike's not here though, but Marcella and Bill are.
I'm no longer.
Oh, you're no longer on it. Smart.
So what do we need to tell them?
Great. Marcella, is there an Eagle Scout contact person, or should we just Mike?
We'd have to assign somebody to take the lead on it. I don't know which of the committee members would be up for it.
Okay, Mike is actually here.
Hi, everybody. I saw thanks for promoting me, Mary. I saw part of the presentation, but that looks like a great project. The original boardwalk there was a Boy Scout project in 2006, I believe. I don't know if anyone mentioned that. That was one of our very first Eagle Scout projects.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah, and I could be your point of contact if you want. I'm currently the Land Stewardship has two vice chairs or co-chairs. I'm one of the co-chairs, and we can talk about supply materials and can help out with the permitting.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from the commission or the audience?
Okay, so Mike, I'll just have, I guess, Kyle reach out to you, to do a
Sure.
follow-up meeting.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
So, any other questions, Matt?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for everyone for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Now, Mary, how about the certificate of compliance for 5 North Street, 311-0798? Construction of a single-family house.
Wait just a second, I can. So this is gonna be for a partial certificate. They have, my guess is he's ready to sell a house.
Gotta sign up.
Yeah. He doesn't. And so, you know, the house is there, the lawn is only partially in. Replication area is here, it was just planted last October, so it needs, it can't be signed off on until fall of 2026. So that, we're still waiting on that. He still has his erosion controls up, which I think he needs at the moment, because it's, not everything's quite stable. The crossing looks like it's in pretty good shape. He has submitted an as-built. One thing I noticed for the crossing is it's actually a little wider than it's supposed to be. It's maybe 5 feet wider as compared to, and so what that, in the end, I don't think it really matters, because they supposedly had 1,400 square feet of wetland disturbance, but they did replicate 2,100 feet, so they had a little built-in buffer, so I think we're good. We don't have to make them go back and fix that. So here's his as-built. He's got his bounds in. They look great. So really the remaining items are just kind of waiting for stabilization, removal of erosion controls and wetland reports. And, you know, making sure the replication area is successful.
So who's responsible for the replication area if it isn't successful? Is it the builder or the homeowner?
Well, yeah, this is kind of, if this sells, so, you know, my thing was discuss if we need to do a bond because, no, it would pass, you know, if we did, it would pass to the homeowner as the new owner of the property. So the builder really should be taking care of it though, because it's.
Right, but as far as how we interact with the homeowner, for the sake of argument, let's say half of it dies.
Right,
So they have to replace.
right,
So we tell them to replace and then they say, well, it's not, the builder's supposed to do that, but it's really, they're responsible. We
once it
don't,
sells, it is their responsibility, so so a good lawyer for a buyer would make sure that there would, you know, would
Right.
probably ask for a bond.
okay, all right, fine, I was just kind
We
of.
don't ask for a
No,
bond.
we're not.
Yeah,
We encourage the new homeowner to. have-
yeah, that's actually, have the lawyers do that, then we don't have to deal with it.
But we don't really have much
No.
interaction with the lawyer.
No,
No.
not usually not,
No, I was just kind of curious on that.
but we could hold a bond as well, and that's what we did for Kiwanis Beach.
Yeah, that was different.
That was different. And this one also, the contractor, he's not living in this house, but he's living in the neighboring house, and he also has a replication area that we're waiting on. So I feel like
Yeah,
it's kind of all one project, so hopefully he will get it all done as one.
no, I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so
Right.
that's. Yeah, and if you guys want, I didn't get around to calling him and asking him how he was gonna deal with that.
It's, I guess it's not really frankly our concern, but I was just curious.
Right, yeah, it's. I like to kind of at least talk about it, cause you know.
Well, if you're out
sometimes-
there, yeah, I don't think we need to do anything
Right,
formal, but yeah, if you're out there.
What do you think,
I think it's
David? What
good.
do you usually do? What do you think would work? You're the one that has to manage it.
Right, well, as long as, you know, we have a good relationship with the contractor, which in this case, I think we do. And there's, you know, trust and stuff like that. And we can hope that it gets done properly. In the end, though, if the contractor just sold it and that if we could go after the new homeowner eventually,
Right.
and it would just be a pain for them, unfortunate that they didn't know about it, if that's what happened.
You know, ultimately, it would be a hell of a lot smoother and easier to have cash in hand.
Exactly, yes.
Because if everybody says not my problem,
Then it doesn't get done.
right?
Yeah.
And how much, the next time, just kind of curious, if you don't mind me asking, how much would it cost, let's say the whole thing failed? And you just start over. Do you have any idea of the rough range of how much?
Yeah,
that-
what would we ask for a bond? Is that what
Yeah,
you're asking? How much?
You know, if I would assume that the excavation was done properly, I mean, that's probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't just start from zero. You
Right,
have
it would
to
just be.
stuff in there, just
replanting.
replanting, be the
Yeah.
cost of your plant.
So that could be, I know I think we asked for. A total bond for Kiwanis was 6,000, so maybe like 3,000 or something would be.
I actually wanted 10 of one.
Oh, yeah, you were probably right, Tom, cause we haven't heard from them yet.
Mary, who's the
I don't
contractor?
know, Bill's got a point there about just get a bond up front and be done with
I
it.
mean,
Yeah,
so who puts up the bond?
The
Building.
bill.
Oh, the builder.
Yeah.
Okay.
so,
Mary, the contractor.
yeah,
I don't know, but we haven't done that in the past, with the exception of Kiwanis, right?
right.
Right, so,
And sometimes I encourage, like, if I talk to. I know this has happened a few times where the attorneys work it out as part of the sale,
yeah,
and that's actually ideal.
yeah, that's what I would rather have them do also.
Yeah. Cause then we don't have to, I mean, it's a fair bit of extra work for the town, because then if they don't do it, then we're stuck with hiring people and making sure it's done.
So what's the consensus for this project? Do a partial,
Yeah, it has to be a partial, I think we can either, you know, I can call the contractor and see what he had in mind about that and see what, you know, he might be fine with that anyway. Or we could just issue it and hope that things work.
I mean, I'd like to issue the partial, and if you could have just a conversation. That would be
Yeah.
helpful, and depending on your conversation. Maybe we can.
so
Have it again.
do we have a motion to issue a partial for 5 North Street?
So move. Second.
So, voice vote, Chris, I.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
And I.
Marcella, I.
Mike,
Unanimous vote of the commission members present. So Mary, how about Claflin Farm Road? We've had a few of these on for a while.
I know, I reached out to the engineer today, but I haven't heard anything back from them.
So they can also. Okay, so how about the administrator's report?
This is important. We've got the fish survey on.
Yeah, that's in the mail
What
for
is it?
whoever's on Lake Savannah.
That would be
You can take it.
interested to see that important information.
the survey.
It's the fish survey.
The fish survey?
Yeah, the
Copies of it, for your-
Oh, very good.
you can
the
take it.
census. It's the fish census.
Hold on, there goes.
So for agent report, I guess one thing that's maybe something the board might want to consider. Is this is, I did an ALDP administrative land disturbance permit for 3 Marion Way. And they're taking their swimming pool out, you know, and it's gonna disturb, you know, a relatively large area. But they are right below, I think it's 149 Main Street, which is the Lobasur apartment complex that was put in, I guess, 5 years ago. This is the outlet to their stormwater detention basin. And he's had this happen maybe, I guess, 3 times. So in one of these large storm events, the water goes over, it overflows and creates a river and goes into his lawn. And this has happened 3 times where he's had some sinkholes but it doesn't happen unless there's obviously a large volume of rain. So, of course, he would love it if we talked to Loviser and see if he could figure anything out.
And I believe the DPW director has had a conversation
Yes.
with Mr. Loviser.
Oh, has he?
The homeowner contacted the DPW at one point.
Yes,
Yeah, clearly something's wrong.
It's
Right.
not functioning.
That pipe looks kind of small. I mean, I don't know what it's going to or anything, but
well, this is just heading out on a riprap pad and then there's nothing, like it goes down the hill into his yard, so like there's no like. Yeah, I don't feel like it was designed very well.
the water comes out that and not
This,
You don't really
water's
know
coming
which
out,
way.
water's coming out of this,
coming towards you.
coming towards you and. It
If,
does,
if the detention basin fills up too much right there.
right, exactly.
So
It's
that's
an
like a,
overflow for
It's an
for the
overflow.
detention basin.
Is this the?
Okay.
Is this closest to 140? 3 Merriam Way?
No, there's like number 1 is the closest.
Yeah, but I mean, it's towards 140, it's
yeah.
not the other end. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's the second one in.
And that's the one that, isn't that the one that's all grown over and everything, trees and?
No,
Is it the Kibbe property?
No, the Kibbe property's on the other side.
Oh, okay.
They should probably have a detention swale with that spot to let things settle out.
yeah, either that, they
Oh,
need to
good over there.
kind of channel it, a little bit. So that it's not going into the
It's
streams.
draining the 149 apartment complex,
Yeah.
a multi-story building.
Okay, all right, I was thinking about Marion.
Yeah.
Right, the one on Marion Way, that got their little ground.
Kind of behind their house.
No, This is drainage from
There into the.
into his yard.
Into his yard.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
Was that there when they built?
But is that our concern?
It's already there.
No, I meant the drainage situation when they built the apartments.
Yeah, well, he said he never had any issues with water on his property until the apartments came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Disturbed everything.
but that's not our issue though, isn't that like zoning or planning or somebody?
Who's the stormwater authority in town?
Stormwater.
Oh, God. All right, yeah,
I mean, we have to ensure that
That's
the
unfortunate.
inlet to the collection area is functioning properly, up to spec, because it should be doing that.
yeah.
Alright.
So Mary, can I ask,
Yeah, that's not
does does the town own the this detention basin?
no, it's on Lopes property.
Well, maybe I should rephrase that. Is there an easement which
I
makes
think-
this the responsibility of the town? Was it part of the development that the Merriman Way development, and when that road was accepted, did the town?
No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's behind the
doesn't.
house. It's between the house and the 149 Main Street apartment building.
So who built it?
Kevin Loviser built it as part of the apartment building project.
Okay,
He still
okay, got it.
owns it,
That's,
he's
thank
man-
you.
so.
Yeah, so I can't remember, like I said, the homeowner contacted the Department of Public Works, so. I probably pulled the plan at some point to figure out whether or not there was a town easement, we had some skin in the game. And I just can't remember.
So.
But I know that Dennis talked to, yeah,
Yeah, he said he talked to Dennis.
But they probably took care of it then.
So we're responsible for stormwater.
Yeah.
But this never came in front of us, did it?
It was like
Well, this would have
we
gone-
were responsible.
Yeah, well, this would have gone before planning board, so.
actually it would have gone before the ZBA. It would have been part of the comprehensive permit.
Oh,
It would have
because-
come to the Conservation Commission for, I think, stormwater.
Right, oh, because this was a 40B project. Yeah. Okay, so I don't, yes, the stormwater would have been reviewed through that process, hopefully. I don't know, and
I don't remember it, and I've been here forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
feel like-
because it's a 40B, it would have been reviewed by the ZBA, they would have looked at the stormwater, and so hopefully their engineer. looked at
Okay,
it.
so we didn't like
We didn't permit this.
Okay. I'm trying to understand, we're responsible for it, but I've never seen it.
Not our fault, but we own it now.
Yeah, but that's the thing, I'm thinking, how is it, we have to do this when it never comes in front of us, I gotta understand it.
Yeah, well, maybe we're not, I should look more closely at the bylaw on that.
Yeah, but I would say
We'll
that
push
it's
back.
definitely something, if there has been some sort of failure. We should understand how that happened, so that when we are responsible for
Right.
evaluating
Yeah,
stormwater,
exactly.
we know to look for it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you,
You've got a
I
point there.
I agree, I'm thinking, we're responsible, and I don't remember anything about this.
So, I know you just said it, but I've forgotten already. That structure is on or not on the landowner?
It's not on the land.
Not on, he has the water. It's Lovis's.
It's Lovis's.
structure.
But it's running into the other
It's
person.
running into his property.
So how much on this end of that concrete structure does Lovis own? Enough to make a detention pond? Okay,
Yeah, that, I guess we have to,
that's the solution, no matter who
yeah.
has to do it.
Yeah, maybe we're not gonna solve that tonight.
We talked about it for a long time.
So here's number 3, you can see it.
It's not the one with the skateboard stuff out back, it's the one next to it. Right?
Right, so here's the detention basin right here. And that, the pipe that I showed you was here, and I guess it runs down. He's had a sinkhole right here. He's not sure.
That
he-
must be a lot of water.
And his pool failed, which is why he's pulling it out, and he's not sure if the pool failed because. Of water pressure on the ground. Yeah, he has no idea why the pool failed, but the pool had been there for many years and failed recently.
This goes on long enough, he's gonna have a wetland in his backyard.
It's true.
Maybe Lovis should make him a new pool.
Anyhow, this is the other, and he thought there was an easement, a town easement somewhere on the 5 property, I don't know about that, it's not showing up here.
It looks like there's potential to expand that basin if need be on Lobiser's property.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, it's clearly it's not sufficient, right? Or it's not operating properly, or there's more water coming off of the roof, and the impervious surface than it was designed for, so something changed.
Right, well, and they're only designed for like the whatever 100-year storm, so if it rains more than 4 inches or 2 inches or whatever it is, then they fail, and this is what happens. So,
Yeah, but it sounds like the failure is too frequent here.
right,
You said 3 times in less than a year?
well, no, 3 times in the 5 years, I think, so that's, you know. But it seems like damage was enough to, it wasn't, yeah, but you don't see like you'd expect to see like a channel that was like, there's no channel, it's that infrequent, you know, it hasn't like made a path.
And the land to the right of that 3 Miriam, does it slope up to the
Yes,
apartment?
this is below.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, it could,
It's like-
a lot of it could just be natural sheet flow that's coming on his property and maybe not just the pipe. But I mean,
Yeah,
you know, unless he's actually looking at the pipe and has photos that shows.
I think he said he
water.
had some video footage.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's one thing, but obviously he's gonna get lots of natural.
It
sheet
will be
flow.
natural flow.
I hope he shows that to Mr. Lovis.
Anyhow,
but still,
Yeah,
the house was there before the
yeah,
apartment then,
mhm.
so there may never have been sheet flow going down there, but because of the parking lot, you now have. it.
Yeah.
Still,
Well, I mean, the natural topology is that the land of the apartment complex was higher than the
Right.
3 Miriam Way, so there would be some that could flow down. But
Right.
obviously there's more now because of all that
So
impervious
the
surface,
impervious.
Right.
if all that impervious.
Is that enough to describe the situation and a remedy?
So we should wait and see what the highway department wants to do. They're already talking about
Yeah,
it, right?
that was it.
That was
Just a
it?
year ago, yeah,
Oh, a year ago?
if not longer.
Yeah, I think the homeowner was like, well, I talked to Dennis, but nothing happened. And obviously Dennis has 3 million things to do.
Yeah, okay.
And we probably, if we arrived at that to do nothing, then that's because there's no easement, no town easement.
Okay, no towns, yeah.
All right, so that answers that, no town easement.
So, well, I suggest that Mary contact Lois or either a letter or an email. And, ask for him to investigate this and see if there's a design deficiency, which looks quite possible. And then Mary, I think we probably need to read our stormwater bylaw to see if we have any jurisdiction
Yeah,
here at all. Probably not, since it was a 40B and stormwater bylaw is a local bylaw, so
yeah.
but or maybe we just have to kind of ask Mr. Loberser to step up and be a good neighbor here.
Well, and I wonder if he was required to be monitoring his stormwater basins and cleaning them out and stuff like that.
He's the one that.
Could we get a copy? Maybe get a copy
Right.
of the permit that the
Yeah.
ZBA issued. Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah, get a copy of the permit and see, it probably says something about stormwater in it.
Yeah,
And I believe that would be recorded at the registry.
Might be interesting to suggest making a bigger detention swale along the property line.
If you got the water in one, and the kids will have water features in addition to their.
Some rocks, a little fountain.
What is that gray area to the
I
top right?
believe that's a dog.
Oh, the dog park.
yeah, there's a little playground.
Okay, I see the playground, so that's a dog park next to it. Okay.
Small playground, big dog park. Did you notice?
Yeah, more dogs and kids probably.
Pretty dog friendly, they have
Dogs more
a
important.
washing station in the building.
Alright,
Only to generate.
so that was that. And these are just pictures from doing the power site visit. They're putting the replication area approximately here. Seems like a good spot. This is the vernal pool that they're in the buffer zone too. This is the high shrubs I was talking about that are next to these poles that they're gonna have
Yeah.
to do something with.
Hi.
This is 75 Mechanic Street. I got a call from a homeowner wanting to remove 2 trees. That's one of them, and they're 6 feet from the house.
Oh my.
Yeah. Needs to go, I think.
Yeah.
This is the wetland replication area, the District 9 property. Mike, it looks like you put some plants in there. Maybe?
I did those in winter berries,
Okay,
the 3
Great,
winter
yeah.
berries, yeah.
looks pretty good. And the first bridge installed.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Hey, you should go over there. You're right across the street, right?
I know.
Just remember your bear spray.
Get my ticks stuff.
Yeah, pick stuff in Bear Spring.
This is 11 North Main Street, just erosion controls. And this is the kind of the scary one, 10 Mechanic. They have a erosion control line at the bottom. I think they might have a double line. It'd be interesting to drive past there today and see how it looked after last night's rain. I haven't got a chance. Maybe I'll get out there tomorrow and look. In
I
fact,
drove by today and the street was clean.
the street was clean.
That's all I can say.
Yeah,
That's a steep.
that's
Yeah.
very steep.
Are they gonna put a road in there?
It's just a driveway,
Oh, a driveway.
a steep
Yeah,
driveway.
they'll have to cut it down a lot.
This is 12 Stoddard. We had asked him to remove the mulch and plant seed, grass seed, which he has. And remove the arborvitae, that's been done. And I think the only other thing really to report is we have new town lawyers now. And we met with town managers to talk about our open legal issues, and I think we decided with the Dogwood Drive issue and with the Robertson Trail Bridge is pretty much done. So those things are just gonna have new lawyers do that. And even if there is any more appeal or anything with this 41 Milford, because it's kind of at a place where it's closed out, they're gonna pass it to the new firm. So. The Owen Island Stewardship Intern has been pretty busy mowing and doing some trail maintenance and scheduled to mow at Stefan's on Friday. And that's pretty much it for me.
No bills?
Lauren has the bills.
I have a
Oh,
question. Mary.
Okay,
It's Shannon, sorry. On the trail maintenance, I was just at Peppercorn the other day on Thursday, and it was very overgrown to even like get in. So I was wondering if that's part of their hit list on the trail maintenance.
which entrance did you go in, Shannon?
The one on East Street, where it's kind of like a field.
Yeah.
It
So
was
does
like there were a lot of ticks because the grass was like almost like growing over that entrance bridge.
Okay.
And is there a way, I guess, for people to like write in and like kind of report conditions like that?
I don't, it would be nice, I guess we could
Well,
have
so
something.
land stewardship has an email, and Stewart,
Okay.
Stewart at uptonma.gov, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So you use that address and all the members get it.
Okay. Great. I'm always on the trails, so I can always
Yeah,
send a note over.
Shannon, just a
Yeah.
question. Is the path between the parking area and where those boardwalks start, is that mowed?
It is. It seems like it gets mowed, but it does get long. I walk dogs there, so I'm like often picking ticks off of them just because of all those grasses.
Because Rockwood Meadows has been mowing that over the
Yeah.
years. Maybe they're not doing it frequently enough, and
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's mowed, but when it gets to that little wooden bridge,
Yeah.
right when you're entering
know
the
exactly
trail,
where you mean, yeah.
those grasses like are basically covering the bridge. At least they were on
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay. I have weed whacked those grasses and things growing up through the boardwalk before.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's something we could put up, have Owen do, Mary. So I know Zach what you mean. It's been like that other years.
That was my only question.
Okay. And how about Lauren, the administrative report?
All right. So the meeting minutes for the June 25th meeting were sent out. Did anyone have any comments that weren't already received?
I think they look good. Thank you.
Awesome.
And
So
we
just
have,
need a motion to approve those.
so do you have a motion to approve the minutes from June 25th?
Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Alan.
Sandy, I.
Awesome. And then I'll just share my screen.
Yes, vote. And what about the June 11th? Is that just signing documents?
The June 11th meeting minutes.
Right. Because that was on the list.
I think those were approved the last meeting. So we're all caught up.
Good.
I believe. Here is the most recent expense voucher. We just have the annual subscription to have access to GIS and Mary's mileage. The total is $486.49. that didn't attach, but. And then this is the balance sheet. So this is the first voucher of the fiscal year, so not much has happened. Yeah.
The conservation fund might still need the $5,000. We need to connect with Kenny on that. It's not showing the annual $5,000 that gets. Okay. Yeah.
So do we have a motion to pay our bills?
I'll move. Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, I.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
And I. Marcella, I.
Mike,
Excellent. Is the unanimous vote of the commission members present. Okay. Anything else? Lauren?
Expense perspective, the near map bill is coming due, is due.
Oh, that's right.
And it's about $3,300 per party, so conservation, assessor and database, because the total bill is just under 9,900. So I, if you approve it tonight, I think we can get it paid next week or even today or tomorrow. Right?
So Bill, is our portion a third of that?
No, your portion, the total bill is $9,900, so each portion is $3,300.
Okay. So do we motion to pay the bill of $3,300?
I'll move. Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, I.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Jen and I.
Marcella, I.
Mike,
It's a unanimous vote of the commission. Now, my one question is, which fund does that come out of?
That being general expense.
No, I don't, we typically pull it out of the expense account because it's such a big number. I can actually. Lauren, did you check on the ESRI one, where that one came from last year?
Yeah, I found it from 2 years ago, I believe. It had come out of just the general expense account.
So, yeah, okay, so that one did come out of general expense. And then the other one, though, we can look that up to see where they pulled in your amount.
Yep.
Last year, I think it may have come out of the bylaw fund, because there's a fair bit of money in there.
But we just determine what fund it comes out.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No.
That's being used for wetlands protection, it can come out of the bylaw fund.
How about open space? Anything else?
We met with the Machi family yesterday, and they have decided that they want to sell, as it turns out, SVT is going to be the buyer, 35 acres of their 107 acre property. So 35 is better than none. It's a little less than we had hoped for. And Sudbury Valley Trustees is going to purchase that at about $4,000 an acre. And I was wondering whether or not, and SVT was wondering whether or not perhaps the town through the Conservation Commission might be able to contribute a little towards expenses or something towards expenses. So I'm seeking this evening to find out if you're willing to contribute something towards expenses, and if you have some number that you would like to cap it at.
I'm willing to contribute towards expenses, but again, I'd like to have a cap number, and I have no idea what that number is yet. So
put down before.
that's $37,000, 4,000 an acre.
It's 120,000.
Okay, 20,000.
So we're gonna have to pay for a title, which is only $1,000. The probably the biggest expense is gonna turn out to be a survey. And at this point, we're planning on having the owners pay for it.
That's better.
So honestly, I would think somewhere between 5 and 10.
I was thinking $5,000. I wasn't thinking 10, but I was thinking $5,000, but
Well, if you're willing to commit to that this evening, that'd be great, and if for some reason we need more, we'll come back.
I'm comfortable with $5,000.
Yeah, if the owners don't do the survey, then it could come back.
So I'd be comfortable taking it out of the conservation fund. It looks like, based on what Lauren showed us, once we get that 5,000 back in, there's what, about 16,000 in the conservation fund, something like that? Lauren, is that right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
about 11,000, over
Plus-
11,000 right now.
Plus another 5 is owed.
Yeah,
it.
so once we get the 5.
Yeah,
There you go, money in, money out, boom, boom.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm comfortable with 5,000.
Yeah, I agree, I agree.
And the source would be the conservation fund.
Okay.
Yeah, the two land stewardship funds have gotten a little bit low.
Do we need a vote on that? Do you have a motion?
Motion,
So moved.
Second,
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, I.
Oh my.
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Nay. Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
As for the members present.
All I got for
How
Okay, there you go. Come here and get some
Good
money.
job, thank you very much.
about in stewardship?
We're happy to give it to you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything for land stewardship?
Now, I have a question for land stewardship. Did anybody respond to the gentleman who had the question about the Kelly property?
Yes, I did. And I
All right.
think Mary did too. So I think we answered his questions. He was interested in hunting access and was looking for a contact with the Kellys, and I think I suggested, and Mary might have too, that check out the farm stand, try to talk to somebody there.
They hunt up there all the time. Lots of people.
What?
Lots of people hunt up on the Kelly property off of 140.
Well, but this person was asking just for landowner permission.
Yeah, no,
They would just want to ask permission.
yeah.
Yeah.
Walk up there, there are lines and tree stands everywhere.
Mm.
Yours?
No, I don't hunt up there, but I've been walking through there. I've seen them.
And other stewardship things, Marcella, jump in. I know there's plans afoot to mow the path up through Stephens. I think the path at Glen Echo has been mowed. Once we get Owen a little bit more on the ground, we can start working on the Robertson boardwalks. We basically need to have a work day out there to haul in some more materials, and then we can really get him started on that. And like Mary said, the bid package for the Robertson Trail Bridge hopefully is finished, and we just need to get, at this point, I guess maybe a new town council or a town manager just to issue the damn thing.
Yeah, that's for me after this meeting.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I know it's like, oh, I gotta do that.
There's probably a slight chance the construction could start this fall, but I would guess maybe we're looking at in spring if we get a bid and make an award.
Okay, so if anything else, before I talk about the discussion, I am updating and section 9 of the 2020 open space restoration plan.
I guess the other thing is that I forgot to put it on the agenda, the letter to the planning board about 49 Mechanic Street. Maybe I got the number wrong, but the Mechanic Street letter.
47.
47.
7. Yeah.
I read that,
Looks good. Mike did it.
yes.
Mm.
Any other comments about that letter? Before we send it out.
I do have to do some more research, but Mike had suggested to the landowner at last night's planning board meeting, because this was a series of hearings, that she make the lots smaller and set aside basically, I guess, the riverfront area. The large lots have to be 3 times the size of your standard acreage requirement, so I think those lots just barely meet that. So it may not be feasible to separate that land from the lots.
Well, Bill, is it 1 acre zoning there?
Yeah, so that would be 3 acres, right?
Right, and I think both of those proposed lots are like 4.5 acres or something like that. So there's some room to do that. Yeah. I would mostly like to just see the entire Brook corridor, be on the remaining land parcel. Right now, if their plan is correct, Brook kind of meanders through probably 3 parcels.
Yeah, you're right. I think they drew the line on the other side.
Yeah, and the brook meanders a bit. So 4.34 and 4.39 are the 2 proposed lots right now.
Yep.
And you can see that line, it kind of cuts the brook kind of cuts across it. The proposed property line right now. Yeah, yes. And someday, I mean, the current owner isn't interested in a public trail easement, but someday somebody might, and it would be a lot easier to establish a trail if, that remaining parcel, didn't, cross the river, basically. If the remaining parcel was all on the left side of the river, that long, but. And the other thing, like Mary noted on this is Mary's plan, it's also really steeply sloped there. It's not really usable land at all. Really steep slope. And it's riverfront. But anyway, this is that was suggested in the letter that we sent to the planning board, and the letter included this figure. But it didn't, this figure isn't meant to show the new line, it's just meant to show an area of concern. So, Bill, I mean, if the planning board was to ask for a slightly expanded remaining land parcel, it wouldn't have to include the whole shaded area.
And the planning board asked for a conservation restriction on it? As part of this process, probably not, or.
I think they've done it before.
Yeah, well, so, I'm sure they can act.
Okay.
Right, they have, I was rereading the large lot frontage reduction bylaw. And the planning board has quite a bit of flexibility. And at the end of the day, it becomes a matter of, is it better for the town for us to do that than what we would otherwise allow you to do as a subdivision?
Right.
So we could suggest to the landowner that, some degree of open space protection would add a significant, then it would be a significant benefit to the town.
Okay.
And maybe enough of a benefit to permit what they're trying to do.
Right.
That would of course have to be a discussion of the planning board, of course.
That's a good idea. Then.
Do we have other questions or
Uh,
comments?
I was just gonna say, it's actually kind of interesting. The large lot frontage reduction permit typically requires the applicant to demonstrate that a standard subdivision could be put on the land.
Right.
But there's a part of the bylaw that says, you know, in certain cases, the planning board can waive that. If the project itself and what they propose is such a benefit to the town that that becomes irrelevant.
Right.
Putting a few houses in wouldn't be a great benefit to the town, is it?
Well, no, so you could put it, I mean, what they've demonstrated, at least conceptually, is you could put in 4 houses. So you're losing one. There's also another plan that I believe the appraiser did that showed 5 lots on that.
Oh.
So
okay.
you're
Okay.
2 lots, 2 houses less.
Okay.
But if that comes along with some other benefits like preserved open space, especially next to existing.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
It would be hard with that riverfront area, it's gonna be hard. I think they might have a hard time with it anyway.
Well, no, and like I said, the 5 lot thing was something the appraiser did conceptually. Now, as I think Mike was pointing out, it's only 40,000 square feet. And there's, I forget, 11 acres though, so there's, even with the riverfront area, you may be able to fit 5 houses in. Because you can create a lot with riverfront area and a
Right.
small portion just large enough for a house,
Right.
as we've seen repeatedly now.
It's true.
So, any other questions about the letter or the plan? We have a motion to have Mary issue the letter and the plan.
Oh, no,
Second,
All in favor? Chris, I.
am I?
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, thank you.
Yes, vote of the commission. Thank you. And how about updating section 8-9 of the 2020 OSRP?
Or, I think so far, I don't have any input from any other board right now. Did talk with the Lakes and Ponds Committee earlier this week, and I think they're open to being a part of this table. So this is the current draft. We're basically looking to expand it to 29 from 2025 to 29. The last 3 years are new years. I'm not sure how to go about this. Do we want to just go through it line by line, or
Sure, line by line would be good.
line by line? Okay.
Make it a little bigger. Better, I'm not getting this, my email.
Yeah, I think it came up from last meeting. That is still not very good.
So Mary, can you make edits to this?
It looks like I probably could actually.
Is it
Yeah. Is this a size that people can see, or is that better?
yeah, as long as we have all the years. Well, actually, no, there is another column to the far right. funding and support, so. Well, I can start to go through these. I mean, historically, I think, the first line, open space conservation opportunities, that was an open space and conservation commission both kind of share that. And so you'd put and it just went the whole length of the plan. So you put an X under 2025 through 29.
Are there little X's?
There's little dots.
Oh, the dot's already there. All right.
Yeah,
Huh. You know, this thing, those dots were bigger before
Right.
this version. Something's happened to the formatting. So
Yeah.
you don't have to do the X's. I mean, the dots are
Okay.
there. The dot's actually there. And you can see that task was both Concom and open space. There's 2 dots there.
Yeah, this isn't your original document, so I don't think I'm messing it up.
Won't say anything.
Yeah. Oh, is this
This got opened in a Google
is this
Doc.
it's a Google Doc now? Instead
Yeah.
of okay.
Well, no, because Google can't show a Word doc. I guess it could show a Word doc, but it likes to show a Google Doc. So I could edit it this way and then it'll still go back. Like your regular Word doc still has all the right formatting, I think.
Okay. Well, why don't we just, get us through this tonight? Why don't we just go through each line, and if anyone has any comments or questions on it, and then we can kind of go from there. So the second line is permanently protect town-owned open space parcels.
Open Spaces Committee's doing that right now.
Yeah. Establishment of town-wide loop trail.
How are we doing with that one?
Well, working on it. I mean, to some extent, Forest Heights and could be a component of that. The Robertson Trail Bridge is potentially part of that.
Heritage Park and then the places near Mill Pond, you part of that?
Maybe not. No.
No, actually, it would be. Because that would permit somebody to come down from Upton State Forest
Oh,
through Kiwanis Beach.
Yeah.
And then through Heritage Park to the community center.
that's true. That's true. And I've actually been going through old town reports, and Bill, you mentioned this one, and Marcella, the conservation area by Pratt Pond, probably back in the 70s, there was a Boy Scout project that basically crossed the river so you could walk from Hopkinton Road across the river to the conservation area and get to the beach. And we talked about that years ago, doing that, but there was once one there, and it was an Eagle project. Probably in the, I'll find it and send it around. I think it was in the 70s. So I think that's what some extent what Bill's talking about. We could reestablish that connection.
Anyone know what the update was with the selectmen to protect the land around Mill Pond?
No, I've not heard anything about what they've done, but that was really them and the town manager. They were looking to act fast to put together something to present to the owner. Apparently there's a lot of interest in because actually it was listed at 300, someone told me the family's now asking far more. And actually, somebody else told me that somebody they knew had made an offer on it, up to 50, so.
How much did they make an offer?
250.
250. Okay, well, so we still have the loop trail in there, comment on subdivision and special permit applications like we just did for 47 Mechanic. Update open space map. Try to keep it updated. We've actually done pretty well with that. Partner with others to conserve land. We've been doing that. Promote conservation of privately owned land. I think we do that. Update open space bylaw. That's Bill, you're in the planning board. Do you think there's a need to do that?
Yes, well, I think bylaws ought to be reviewed periodically regardless. And this one, I mean, this is ages old now,
Yeah.
right?
2011, I think. No,
Yeah.
2007, excuse me.
So yes, and I think that would be more than the planning board. The planning board would end up seeking comment from Open Space Conservation Commission. We're undergoing some sort of process with CMRPC, but I don't think the open space bylaw is part of the bylaw review they're doing. But yes, I think it's a good idea to review it.
Okay. Friendly suggestion, maybe review and update open space bylaw.
Yeah.
I liked when you added the word review in there, Bill.
Sounds good.
Okay. And scenic roads bylaw, I guess, Bill again, open space chair and planning board.
I am not a big fan of the scenic road bylaw.
Have a motion to just strike that from the action plan.
But I it is force people to do something that's worked out in their favor regardless.
Yeah. Okay, so that's out.
I didn't get that somebody.
Okay, work with historical commission. Support Community Preservation Act.
Garden. Didn't know that was a right. People complain about.
Well, there's
Does that have to do with apartments and
subdivisions.
subdivisions? Yeah.
And some subdivisions will approve, which is why we have a community garden, because they can't garden at home. Okay.
So if that would be the next time a subdivision comes around, that, you know, the big one that, you know, we could, open space or Concom could comment on it and say, hey, you know, let people garden in their backyards.
The subdivision out in the garden.
Well, from an aesthetics point of view,
Yeah.
sometimes they just say it has to be in the backyard. So you don't turn your whole front yard into garden. I'm not opposed to that, but I mean, that's sort of part of the rest.
I'm just curious, and I'm not picturing a big agricultural thing. Yeah, few tomato plants and.
Fences and debris and stored pots and all of that can make it pretty,
Oh, that's true.
you know, some
That's not the
people
garden.
don't think that's.
That's
beautiful.
trash.
What?
Pots and stuff isn't the garden, that's trash.
Well, just saying, you know.
Yeah.
You have a garden, it's not just. You know, it's. Hose and stuff and buckets and water and hoses can get pretty junky looking. Then you want a shed.
Shit.
Move
Greenhouse.
on.
I'm gonna pots all over.
Fine.
Okay, so, is
What?
it okay to, Odit, is it okay to retain that one? Promote right to garden, any concerns or not?
Didn't know it was an issue, it's fine. Didn't know people didn't like.
So is it, again, any concerns about retaining that one? Okay. Organize open space records. I think
I have a comment on that, actually. The woman who's been doing all our filings that were in the basement, putting them in our database. I'm actually running out of work for her to do, so she doesn't really like scanning things, but she is very good she loves to read these old files and kind of figure out what's going on. So she might be someone that would help with that. I don't know.
That would be great.
yes. I mean, we,
Wow.
all of our major open space projects probably, you know, the people who were involved in them probably should see what they have on their home computers and get them to the Conservation Commission. Because I know I've got stuff from Sweet William Farm that the town doesn't have, you know, the commission doesn't have. You know, things like appraisals and phase one reports, all that stuff. A lot of that stuff never found its way to the commission and onto the T drive, which is where the digital records are kept. So I'd keep that on there. So create paid part-time stewardship position, we've kind of done that. Hopefully it'll work out. We can continue to do that. Again, any comments, just type up. We're on the hook, actually, I'm on the hook to do a stewardship plan for District 9. Laura from SVT has been asking me about it. I have to start working on that. Stewardship for Stephens could come later, I would suggest. And then you're implementing the plan. Stewardship plan for Peppercorn, I don't know if I think we could probably try to do one a year roughly, or one stewardship plan every couple years. And we've already got the North Upton open space plan written, so we're kind of trying to implement it. Land stewardship is. You know, for those on the new to the commission, I think the only stewardship plan we really do have is for those North Upton parcels, and that's dated in 2017. I think we finished that. But it's a good management practice to have some sort of stewardship plans for these larger conservation areas. And we have one for Stephens too, but Stephens is 2007. So it's almost 20 years old.
Could we put updating the website on there? Which would include putting maps up that include the newer trails. There are a lot of, and the maps on the kiosks are lacking all the information necessary.
Yeah. Are there, could you go down a little bit? There may be, some of this might be on the next page. Published trail guidebooks, something down along there. Maybe you could add a line or maybe mention the website there. Yeah.
Regularly, yearly.
as needed.
Kind of an ongoing thing, and every time I look at it, I see something that's just terribly outdated, but I don't have, if I could go in there and just fix it, that would be great, but I never get around to writing down what needs to be dealt with and talking to someone who can go in and change it. So, yeah, maybe we should spend a little time just going through everything and then changing it as we go through. It's not that much there. It's just not kept up to date.
Yeah, both Lauren's been learning the website as well, so it's not that hard to actually do it. It's to do work on it.
Yeah, and I have to DPW.
Yeah. It's relatively simple. So it's just a matter of like if you give us some text, or even maybe we know enough to look at some of those things.
So I will say I don't find it very intuitive.
No, it's not, and especially, yeah, if it involves creating maybe buttons and links, that's a little trickier.
What the hell is a widget? And what does it have to do with a website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Widgets.
Which is
Yeah.
a
Pay
thing.
extra for those.
Yeah. Yeah, I played around with the Concom website a little bit. It really bugs me that we have like 20 things on the left side. I would like to see it more streamlined, but I haven't gotten around to like saying, all right, that should go somewhere else, or that should go under this menu. Yeah, I'm sure there's other stuff to do to make it look a little bit cleaner and more organized.
I guess I should look at it.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, could we scroll up just a bit? Because the dog park was there. How do people feel about dog park?
Oh, we have one. We have one at the the
40B.
40B.
Yeah,
So you made progress.
yeah.
I'm not in favor of dog parks, so.
There were people who
Sorry.
there
Why?
were some who approached the Land Stewardship Committee about doing it. And when I started describing the kind of work it would entail, they just kind of disappeared. You know, there's maintenance, there's liability issues, there's finding the appropriate piece of land, and then developing a proposal. So it's something that the Land Stewardship Committee hasn't taken on because it's not, yeah, it's very iffy and labor intensive, and we just, you know, if somebody wants to form a committee to do it, great, but that hasn't happened.
How about we change this to say, promote establishment of dog park committee, or something like that.
Oh, an attainable goal?
Yeah, try and make it attainable, one of these anyway. Because I agree, it shouldn't really be a conservation commission thing. I think most towns that have dog parks, they do have their own
Let the planning board do it.
committees.
The rec committee.
The rec committee.
It is typically a
I don't know how that's, well, this isn't just for our committee, so this is. Combined.
Department of Public Works to haul all the trash, poop bags.
Yeah.
Why do you,
open plastic.
Because people don't watch their dogs. It's a big,
I've never been, I was just curious.
yeah, well. I
Dog
mean,
parks are very dangerous.
he socialized, took him to a dog park. And 3 other dogs came over and wanted to show him that he was low dog in the park. You wouldn't be socializing your dog.
Dog parks are like a kindergarten playground.
They're really good for, but I just don't like them.
Yeah, I know,
Too much,
I've never picked. dogs.
too many people not watching dogs. I don't know, it's just a mess.
I just read one of the reasons this is in here, because remember we did that survey and we got like
People
900
want dog parks.
response. People wanted a dog park, so It
You
was
could
one
have
of the, it was one of the, one of the
open
highest,
space. People get in.
the highest ranked
It's for a walk.
things, so.
Well, somebody might consider doing it as a private operation. In Grafton, Tufts has a dog park that you have to pay to be admitted into. And I think that they did that because letting their,
Your dog has to have a picture on file and be okayed.
Oh, it has to be approved.
Well, you have a picture of your dog and it's,
Do you pay with cash or dog biscuits?
they take PayPal.
That's big over there, so the dogs aren't all in the thing there. Well, they do have a small set. It's a great place to walk your dog.
Maybe we should put in here for an action doing this survey every so many years.
There you go, there's a good one.
And as part of the survey, ask who would be interested, like actually step up and volunteer, because I work with the Uxbridge Dog Park Committee on an event right now, and they like are full-fledged, like a whole operation.
Yeah. And that's its own committee, its own,
Yeah.
not be under our aegis.
Well, again, I would suggest we keep dog park in here, but change it to, something like promote establishment of dog park committee, or something like that. Just because it was something that was highlighted in the survey that we did.
And they're fine, I mean, if people wanna take their dogs to an established dog park, fine. If you don't wanna take your dog, don't go.
Can't we put that on Redcom?
They're not here to defend themselves, are they?
So they do get it.
No, but people love them, I mean, some dogs love them, so.
My sister takes her dog to parks, but she doesn't like people who don't keep their own dogs under control.
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing about the dog park was letting your dog run like a maniac.
Well, as long as it's not a bully, it's dangerous to other dogs.
Yeah, letting them run around like that with other dogs isn't always the best idea. You don't know what could transpire.
Shannon, do you have examples of how Uxbridge does this?
I don't. I'm just working with them on an event. But in general, I mean, I don't have a very favorable opinion of dog parks. Just with my dog background, they're dangerous places for socialization. I think private dog parks are awesome because they limit a lot of the exposures that happen. But public dog parks I find are risky because you can't really tell people that they can't go if it's a public space. And then they risk like their dog like being put on, the list. And, if something happens, and I don't know, that's my opinion. But Uxbridge is very well organized. I believe they work with a private organization to run it. And that's why it's like run so well. Uxbridge Unleashed works with the Uxbridge Dog Park Committee. I believe the owner is on the committee. And they seem to do a really good job. They're very organized. I'm going to their event next month.
And are the parks supervised?
I don't think so, no. A lot of the private parks are. I went to a private park in Texas, and it was like you had to apply to be in. They did like a temperament, a test day where they see how your dog interacts with the other dogs, and you get kicked out basically if your dog's being a jerk, which I thought was awesome.
It's like nursery school.
It is.
Like doggy date.
The way it should be though, both the dog and the human should have to pass.
Yeah.
I can imagine cases where the dog passes and the human is, no, we're not gonna.
So
Anyway.
true.
people
I
are
have a
still.
question about Uxbridge. Do they have large areas for large and small dogs, or is it all one?
I think it's split. Usually they are split. That's like safest for everyone. It prevents like issues. If there were to be a dog park committee, I would be happy to be on it. I've a lot of experience and would be happy to give my controversial opinions.
Shannon, what kind of dog do you have?
I'm binary dogs.
Oh, is that Chris?
I'm fine. Aren't they all?
You own?
I have a German Shepherd and a Lab.
Well,
Well, so we'll keep that in. Um, a lot of the stuff we're doing or working on, the Stephens Farms access is kind of a long-standing problem. For those of you who are kind of new or don't remember, we did we have some conceptual plans that were done for like 3 or 4 different ways to access Stephens Farm open space with vehicles. Right now, to get anything up to Stephens Farm, we have to go through a private cart path. But none of those alternatives were cheap. They were hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we didn't really act on it. But having
even waiting for a donation of land to access it.
Well, I mean, to some extent, Bill was working with, I think with SVT, there's an abutting parcel, that weird shaped parcel that's mostly under the power lines. And Bill jumped in and he did an appraisal, and the appraisal came out like less than $20,000. And I guess the owner wasn't. Pardon?
$2,000 an acre, it's about a 6-acre parcel. That's not what the owner was expecting.
Yeah, so that kind of died. But if the town owned that parcel, that might be the best option to get up to Stephens is at least partially through that parcel.
Is that the parcel where a guy was camping in there or something with a?
Kind of wood.
Yeah.
Cutting wood there.
Yeah, cutting wood, he's got a gate or something, is that the parcel?
It's adjacent to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
Anyway, I suggest we keep this in. I mean, we don't have to do everything on this plan, but a lot of things could happen if we had access to Stephens. We could maybe lease it to a farmer, some of the land for agriculture. There's a spot at Stephens that I think would make an excellent dog park. So maybe the dog park people could be responsible for providing access. Who knows? Anyway, moving on, if there's nothing else about that. Published trail guidebook. I mean, are we in the post guidebook era? Do we really?
Definitely.
Yeah, so maybe just get rid of that.
I think something on the website would be helpful in place of a guidebook.
Yeah, and
That's
yeah.
part of dating, I think, that would be useful. And at the trailheads, it might be something we could put a QR code on the trail maps on the kiosks so that people can carry the map on their phone or connect to the town website via the phone when they're out there.
That's a great idea, I think, or even like direct QR codes to the PDFs, because I know that at least at the state park entrance, there's like no service. So I know the service can be spotty in certain trails.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just maybe update a bit. Keep kiosk displays updated, including CR codes, something like that. Because our kiosk displays need to be updated.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them. And putting a QR code could be part of that update.
Yeah, I was looking at them and wondering, I guess other, like what Mass Audubon and stuff use, they must have some kind of ink that doesn't, obviously if we use our plotter, it doesn't
Yeah.
fades.
I've actually found a vendor that can print UV resistant outdoor posters for not a whole lot. So I think I think that's what we should do, because there's a lot of fading going on. I mean, the most of the ones that we have were printed at Staples, good quality paper, but they just fade. You know, they're being exposed to the sun. So there are some options out there for UV stabilized outdoor displays that we should use. Okay, so how do people feel about fuelwood lotteries? Probably it's been 10, 15 years since we did one of those, maybe 15, I think.
I think it's good if we have it, and if we have the wood to do it. I think people liked it. I have one of my friends actually won one of those. He was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's a good way to keep the public understand what's going on here too.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
How do we know when we have the fuel? We have to have our forests evaluated regularly, right? Send you out.
Trees that come down.
Yeah, trees
Oh,
and just different stuff.
Deadwood and stuff.
Yeah.
Bill, could we partner with the DPW sometime to do a fuelwood lottery, do you think?
Possibly.
Mhm.
Drop in my
Yeah, I mean, we end up with branches and trunks,
I could use it.
They don't leave it on the side of the road anymore.
unless the landowner asks for it.
Oh, it's too bad. It used to be, you used to see wood around all the time.
Yeah, that's where I
We
used to
used to
get
pick it up all the
it.
time.
That's where I used to get it.
CR inspections, it's kind of one of those things we've realized we need to do, but we're not really doing them. Except for maybe Sweet William Farm, when someone goes out with SVT staff. I think it's a good aspirational goal, so maybe leave it in there. But
The CR inspections, yeah, I feel like I've had in the back of my head, like I don't even have a list. I mean, I know of some of them, like the Cook one and stuff. And the Kenneth Village one. But yeah, it seems like we ought to have a list and that would make it easier to do it.
I can get you a list.
Who has, you have a list, Mike?
I have a list.
We get to a point where we might want to hire somebody to do that, like Tom Dodd, who
Mhm.
knows how to do this sort of thing.
Did we have money left over this year? We had money this year, right? I mean, do we have money for something like that? I'm in favor of that.
Mhm.
That way we know it gets done by regularly. We don't feel guilty. We
Yeah.
didn't do
That's the best.
You know, we could start with hiring someone to do some of the baseline reports. That could be like the first inspection would be when they actually are up there doing the baseline report. And probably maybe $3,000-4,000 a report. Roughly, maybe 3.
So we wouldn't have to put that on here. That would be an agenda item to hire somebody to do these jobs
Right, we could just keep these
as they come along.
generic right now, but
Yeah.
okay, so keep those 2 lines in.
And next time you feel guilty about not doing one, put it on the agenda.
Long-term monitoring, not really. I don't know if anyone's doing phenology. I'm doing stream temperatures and we're doing ice out at Pratt Pond. Phenology would be cool, but no one's
You
doing
know,
that as far as I know.
that friends of Upton Safe Forest have a camera that's set up. I don't know if it's been viewed regularly, or whether the state CCR is taking care of it.
Oh, this actually just, maybe we can just step out for a second. This install, maintain wildlife cameras. Mary, did somebody recently ask us if they could put up wildlife cameras on conservation land?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, maybe we should put that as an agenda item and talk about if we need a policy to. Pardon?
They're already doing, if you walk out to the conservation areas, you'll see cameras all over the place.
Well, maybe there shouldn't be.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I see them all the time when I'm out.
Well, if they are, then we should have access to them. We you download the.
I don't know how,
Oh.
from different cameras.
Yes. Same.
I have questions about privacy. I mean, I can see them being off a trail someplace, but I'm not sure we want some private camera on a public trail. And the one time we had a camera out there, we were trying to catch images of off-road vehicles. The camera lasted about 2 months. I got some data off of it. This was at Peppercorn. I got some data off of it once, went back, maybe a month or so later, and it had been destroyed. They left the body.
So they're up at Stephens is a bunch, up at Warrenbrook is a bunch. It's hard to go in the woods and not find cameras. They're not on the trails, but they're, when I go out.
Oh, on like the deer trails.
Yeah, and stuff there, but it's both, I think it's mostly hunters, doing scouting. But they're absolutely everywhere. Behind your house, Alan, they're out there too. There's state forests, they're all over the place.
Well, any objection putting it on just an agenda item so we can respond to that?
I think Mary just did. Didn't you write that down? She wrote it down.
Okay, all right, great. All right, environmental education, Earth Day event, thank you. We did it this year. Thank you, Shannon.
Kind of. It'll be better next year.
Well,
You did a
Okay.
great job at such short notice. It was
Yeah.
well publicized and I hope people responded.
Thank you.
we do maintain the Facebook page. It's got, quite a few likes. 500-600 likes, I think. Kind of got away from sponsoring nature walks, hikes, I think in the COVID era. I haven't really done too much of that lately. At least on town land. I think SVT and the town have partnered on some.
I think,
Bill's been involved with that.
Friends of Up and Sea Forest that do that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I remember Ellen Arnold and I tried to have an event every month between state forest and town lands. And it was very, I think a lot of the walks were very well attended and we were publicizing it. It was actually a great way to promote walking on the land, but it was a lot of work. Which is why we stopped doing it.
Okay. Is there another page, I think, probably? And looks like the stormwater bylaws in two places here on this page.
Yeah. Pull it off of here. You have the update on it, maybe I should pull it up here, but then it's gone. Anyway. You move these things.
So I think these three things in green, I think those are lakes, ponds, and streams committee type tasks. That fairly new committee that Bill and I are on. I don't know about stream team surveys. I guess we could, that committee could talk about it.
It's a Mill Pond stop log replacement.
I put that in there. Mill Pond, unless it's a really wet year, Mill Pond kind of dewaters itself every summer, and the reason that it's losing so much water is that the stop logs in the dam's outlet are in really bad shape, probably rotted. There's a ton of seepage going through those stop logs. Basically, the pond is partially dewatered by the fall of a dry year. Tom, you've probably seen the mud flat when you drive by the Pratt Pond Dam and you look on the other side of the road. There's mud flat.
Yeah.
I think
I thought, I didn't know stop log was a thing.
it is.
I was like, It's stop log replacement.
No, yeah, sorry. Yeah, and I think, the DPW is supposed to do that this year or this summer. It's not one of our, so maybe this should not even be on this chart because it's a DPW responsibility. And I think they kind of committed to doing it.
Should we probably put that in parentheses, DPW? Would that be the same thing as a culvert?
I would think, yeah, I think so, Chris. I guess that's what Bill help maybe say, implement, actually, the next line I did put in culvert replacement, so, or implement findings of connectivity survey, something like that, maybe.
Was the Church Street culvert are fixed?
So Mike, instead of townwide culvert stream connect, just say implement findings of townwide.
Yeah, I think that might. Is there a report yet that can be shared?
No, I think we did get that.
Oh, we did get it?
Beginning of July.
But that one also VGPW, Mike,
I think so, yeah.
and cover replacement is at DPW.
I think if the way it's been, implement findings has been added, I think you might be able to just delete the next one. Delete that line.
Was the Church Street culvert fixed?
No, I think we ought to leave that one on there. Keep that one, in some, keep that one, on the radar. And the commission could do that. We literally could permit it. It could be done with volunteer labor. Maybe with a little help from the DPW. I wonder, if that one was flagged by in the culvert survey too, or not. Basically, that one, the culvert is aimed right at a stream bank and it's eroding it severely. Church Street culvert.
What is the Four Parks master plan?
It's a document that the rec commission produced about maybe 2017 or so. Kind of for conceptual development of the Trask property and doing things at Kiwanis. And I think Leland is one of those other four. This is the RecCom has to. I think Bill and I are planning on going to a RecCom meeting to try to pin them down on some of this stuff.
Can you fix the wording on spelling on aquatic?
Which one, Chris?
Aquatic is spelled wrong.
Okay.
Thank you. Like it when it highlights things like that. We pretty good with this list for now.
I think so, and then Breckcom has to maybe provide some input. Lakes and ponds. Land stewardship and open space, you know, probably those two committees should look at this too, I think.
Sounds good.
We have to, you know, I'd like to get it back to the state by maybe the end of August. It's due the end of September, but in case they have issues with what we've produced, it'll give us some time to fix them.
Sounds great. Do you have more comments from people? Because I know we have to approve the things that we have to issue. And our determination of applicability. For
New things to sign, is that what she's saying?
Yeah, so.
yeah, we have to approve the paperwork. I know we have wetlands. That's Form 2. Determination.
Thanks for remembering that. I almost forgot.
In big trouble.
Yeah.
Weeks ago,
Yeah, sorry.
we put some copies down here. I think there's some thing for them. And I think, I mean, it would be, when we had it as one of the designs on the website.
Yeah, no, but
I don't remember it getting emailed out though. Yeah.
No, well, I believe it's. I believe it's been posted to the website.
So we have a motion to issue our determination of applicability for 41 Milford Street.
So moved.
second,
Okay, let's do voice. Chris, I.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Jen and
Marcella, I.
Like
Okay, that's a unanimous vote of the commission. And Mary, I know I can sign that tomorrow after 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that would be great. There's 3 things for you to sign.
One from my 2 hands.
One from last week that you guys, everyone here has signed.
Okay. What's next?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move, second,
Okay,
I.
good night.